problem with this streak right now?
The defense has been bad. The offense has been bad. We've been inconsistent pitching-wise. So those are the three pillars of baseball.
18 games. But this is where we're going to start tonight on the Baseball Hour, because I thought Alex Cora's tone last night, for the first time this season, had a real sense of urgency in it. You've heard him say things like, I believe in our players. We'll figure this out. You know, we're not hitting right now. Last night was the first time I heard alarm in the manager's voice. And if there's not alarm in your voice out there, there should be, because I am starting to get or reach the point where I'm worried that the Red Sox might stink again. And I said this earlier, and Jim Murray made a crack that I'll share with you, that in the open of the show, you hear me say, guess what? I actually think there's a chance the Red Sox might not suck this year. Well, I'm starting to wonder whether I was wrong, and we're only 18 games in. 617-779-0985. We have a half-hour show tonight, so if you want to talk, you want to call, you got to do it early. 617-779-0985. I have a question for Jimmy Stewart. First, I want to play a piece of sound, and the question for Jimmy Stewart is really for all of you as well. But let me start here. Pete Abraham asked Alex Cora, a broad Pete Abraham of the Globe, who's been covering baseball for years, decades, used to cover the Yankees. Peter Abraham had a simple question for Cora after the game in which the Red Sox lost 16-1 to the Tampa Bay Rays. The game was over in the third inning. Over. Done. Same things happened. Houck couldn't get anybody out. The other team hit singles and hit balls all over the field. The Red Sox struck out 14 times without drawing a single walk. And they only made one error, but there are a handful of plays that did not get converted. Same garbage, really, that you've been watching for 3 or 4 years. And it doesn't look like it's really getting any better. Which leads me to my question, but hold on. Hold the thought. First, here's the exchange between Peter Abraham of the Globe and Alex Cora following the game.
You talked a lot in spring training in the offseason that, this was a team that was ready to win. I mean, what do you think's happened?
What do you mean happened? What do you mean happened?
No, you've been saying that you think it's in spring training you guys were saying we're ready to win now.
We're ready to win. Yeah. We're not playing good baseball. That doesn't mean that we're not ready to win. That one thing is to play bad baseball right now, and another is ready to win. We have to play better. We know that. And I said it from day one, for us to be where we want to be, we have to be consistent on the things that we do. And honestly, we've been consistently bad in the last 10 days.
Okay, so I don't know what Cora was getting at. What do you mean we're not ready to win? Now, I can guess if you want to hear my guess, and that is that Cora felt like they weren't ready to win in other years because they didn't have the players. Now they have the players. And so if he says we're not ready, and he did say a version of that last night, then that's a poor reflection on him, although he did say that one team looked ready, one didn't, and that starts with me. So he took accountability for that part of it, but I would say that at this stage, we start looking at the Red Sox manager, the Red Sox pitching coach, the Red Sox hitting coach, not necessarily in that order, and we start to ask why this team can't do the most basic things. That's where it starts. Why can't they do the most basic things? Why can't they make contact? Why can't they make what I would call fundamental and basic big league plays? And why can't they pitch consistently? So you want to blame analytics, the nerds? No problem. You want to blame the hitting coach? No problem. I want an answer, because I don't know any other way to say this. I'm not doing this again. I'm not going through another crap bag season where the Red Sox don't give you a product, can't give you any entertainment value, and can't play the game in the most basic way. They can't even play the sport right, let alone win. So Jimmy Stewart, here's my question. Here's my question to the listeners. Jimmy, do you believe that some organizations have winning pedigree, that they show up and they know they're going to win and they have winning cultures?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The Red Sox are not one of them right now.
Okay, as do I. I believe that too. And if you believe that to be true, then you have to also believe that they can have the opposite, which means that they learn how to lose and they have losing culture and they have just losing makeup. And I wonder if the Red Sox have the second thing.
They do.
Not only do they not have the first thing, they have the second thing. So years ago, and not to give you story time, but I remember when the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004. And then in the aftermath of that, they made it back to the playoffs in 05. And then in 06, they missed the playoffs, but 07 came along and they added during the winter and they rebuilt and they signed free agents with the idea that Dustin Pedroia would come to the big leagues and Jacoby Ellsbury would come to the big leagues and John Lester and Jonathan Papelbon and Clay Buchholz, that succession of players would add to their history, their new history. When that all happened, I remember Theo Epstein saying, we feel like we will match up our last, and this was after they won in 07, we'll match up our last 5 with anybody in baseball, and now we think we're willing to match up our next 5 with anybody in baseball. And the point was, the Red Sox weren't losers anymore. They were winners. They thought like winners. And I remember John Henry, the owner, telling me at one point that when the Red Sox were playing the Angels in the playoffs, he could feel the difference in the fan base. They now expected to win. You know what they expect now? To lose. How many of the guys on this team have won? Devers has won, but he was a rookie in 2018. Trevor Story has never won a thing. Neither has Jarren Duran. Alex Bregman has won something, but he didn't do it here. I wonder if Alex Bregman kind of walked into this and said, ooh, this is worse than I thought. I'm not sure these guys know how to win. Cora won in 2018. He hasn't done a whole hell of a lot since. So I wonder if we've now reached a point where Tristan Casas came into a losing organization and he now knows losing. Same for Ceddanne Rafaela and Connor Wong and Jarren Duran. Trevor Story grew up with the Rockies. They did nothing but lose. That's a loser franchise. Go right around. Tanner Houck came up in a losing franchise. And I wonder whether now all of that has just seeped into who they are, because when you watch them play, it's not the 8-10 record that I'm alarmed about. They can overcome the 8-10. It's the way they look. How do you lose 16-1 to Tampa, strike out 14 times without a single walk? After, 3 days after, losing to the Chicago White Sox by an 11-1 score. Not scoring against the Toronto Blue Jays at home. I mean, the same mistakes over and over again that we've seen for the last few years. The Red Sox look like the same team. And I said this earlier as well. It used to be that you would go to spring training, cover the Red Sox, and they would start the season with a very measured approach because they knew how good they were. And I probably haven't held Alex Cora and the Red Sox accountable enough for this over the last several years. So you know what? Blame me for that. That part is fine. But I feel like they still kind of come out of spring training thinking, well, we're going to go slowly. We're going to manage it because we're going to be playing in October. And the fact is, they don't have the same pedigree anymore. They don't have the same culture. They're not losers anymore. Not winners anymore. They're losers. They know how to lose. They find ways to lose. And I'm concerned that they accept losing. Because somehow they think they're not what they are. So, someone called at the end of the last segment of Felger Maz and says, are you guys really worried at this stage? And my answer is, yes, I am. Yep. Because the baseball I see on the field is garbage. It's the same baseball they've played for the last... They've had a couple of good games, mostly behind Crochet. They played reasonably well on opening day. They played reasonably well on Sunday with Crochet on the mound against the White Sox. And they smacked the ball around the ballpark against the St. Louis Cardinals. But I don't know how cleanly they played those games. They won because they hit. The rest of the time, they've kind of sucked. So there's a huge overhaul that has to take place with them psychologically to become the franchise they want to be again. It's not as easy as just signing a couple of free agents and bringing up the young kids and thinking everybody's fixed or it's all better and it's all going to work like it's supposed to. You still have to show up, win every day, play with professionalism and pride. And they haven't done that. Brendan's in Walpole, kicks us off tonight. Go ahead, Brendan.
Hey, Maz, the Red Sox need to fire their hitting coach immediately. Their offensive approach is so piss poor that something needs to change soon and fast. Thank you.
So, Brendan, I think that's part of it. And look, other people are going to get on Alex Cora, which I'm fine with. I think Cora's a good manager. I don't think he's a great all-time manager. He could be. He has unbelievable awareness of the game and things like that. But I would also tell you, if you want to blame the managers, what happened? They have talent now. They certainly have talent to be better than this. But the Red Sox also just gave him a 3-year contract worth, I think, $22.5 million, $7.5 million per. I don't think they're going to fire him 20 games into that contract. So the first domino to fall would be probably the hitting coach or the pitching coach or some sort of other maneuver, whatever. But the way they're going, something has to happen soon. They look distant. They look disinterested last night. Dave in Vermont. Dave, go ahead.
Hey, Tony, just a quick thing. They are losing mentality for going on, 6 years now? And just a quick thing. I mean, they have 154 hits to 125 strikeouts and only 82 walks. In just general baseball, it's off on all aspects of the game. Thank you.
Yeah, so Dave, again, I'd have to look at their walk totals and get an idea of where that ranks in the league. The strikeouts, as we know, are number one. The walk totals are better than you think. They have the 4th most walks as an offense, although I look at a game like last night and say, how do you strike out 14 times and not walk once? All those pitches were strikes. He swung at all strikes, all of them, and maybe they were. Maybe last night was the exception. Maybe it was the well-pitched game. Baz was pretty good. But that's not the only one. They haven't hit in a week and a half. The manager himself said that they have been consistently bad for 10 days. Why? How does that happen? Why? You would think they would come out in a season like this with a lot to prove. We're going to come out guns blazing. We're going to be ready to go. We're going to prove to everybody that we mean business and we can win the division. They won on opening day. They lost the next 3. They didn't hit. So is it all offense? Are there problems in the clubhouse? Do some of the players not like Cora? And again, I don't think Cora's going anywhere. But someone needs to explain how they could come out after so much optimism and not be ready to go and not look like they're really interested. Someone's got to explain that. There's got to be a reason for that. So they weren't ready in spring training. Tanner Houck doesn't look ready. Rafaela doesn't look ready. Casas doesn't look ready. Wong didn't look ready. Devers wasn't ready to start the season. Who else? We'll get to your calls when we come back.
team needs to prove itself. We need to get off to a good start to really get people excited. We've had an exciting offseason with the additions, but we need to get off to a good start.
That was Sam Kennedy, Red Sox president, before the season began. I know a lot of you don't like Sam. If you knew him, you'd like him. Not that that really matters. But the point, dead on. Because if this happens and this continues, the response will be exactly what mine is right now. Here we go again. Same garbage. So they made the moves. They still suck. They didn't fix the problem. And that's where we are. 8-10. And again, it's not the record. Okay? It's not the one-loss record. It's the nature of the losses. And the offense is non-existent. They don't even make contact. It's not that they're getting beaten by good pitching or good defense, or they don't make contact. How do you fix that? I mean, that feels like a major issue. I don't know how you get sustained rallies when you can't make contact. So figure that one out. Whatever they got to do, they got to get their heads out of their ass, because right now they're non-competitive. They're playing ugly baseball. It's got nothing to do with the 8-10. It's the way they look. Sorry, Ray and Revere. Ray, what do you got?
Yeah, I want to point out two other stats to you, Tony. They're actually dead last in defense, lead the league in errors and worst in fielding percentage. And when you extract Crochet from the pitching staff, they're dead last in ERA. And to the point of not really fixing anything, they had the worst defense in baseball for the last couple of years. And they really needed to add more pitching. And I just don't think this team can wait for Gigliotti to come back. And I just don't think they've got the arms, Tony, and I don't agree with the hitting approach. I think you're spot on with that.
Okay, so Ray, here's what I'll tell you, is that I never thought that they were like a 94-win team. I said that to people. They're in the mid to high 80s. That's what they are. Right now, they're playing like a team in the 70s. So it's not about being a 95-win team. It's about playing to your potential. They're not even coming close to playing to their potential. And the defense, they've led the major league in errors for 6 years combined. Okay, now that doesn't mean they've led every season for 6 years, but combined, they've made more errors than any team in baseball now for 6 years, going on 7. Matt's in California. Matt, what do you got?
Hey, Tony, I had them at 87 wins, and I got told how big of a clown I was on Twitter. So, it is what it is. But, they've looked bad for a while now, and it just seems like there's just a complacency with losing. Like, they're always finding ways to lose, and they're okay with the losing. If it was you, what do you do to fix this in the short term? But then how can you fix this long term so that way this losing isn't ingrained in the DNA of these young guys that are coming up, the top prospects and whatnot?
Well, I got bad news for you. That part's too late. You've given it away. So I've said this a million times. This is what happens when you start to think that losing is the way to go. We'll half-ass it. We'll go 500. And then all of a sudden you realize you wake up one day, you've been kind of a garbage team or a 500 team for 5 or 6 years, and the guys that get drafted into your system are those kinds of players. The losing's okay. So everyone's okay with it. So how do you fix it? You got to start winning again. It's the only way you fix it. The Red Sox fell into 8 decades of this. They got used to losing, particularly under pressure. So you know what they did? They choked a lot. They became a choking team. The weight of the uniform, there was lead sewn into it. It got so freaking heavy. So do they have 80 years of weight on them now? No, but they have 5 or 6. How do you fix it? I don't know. Again, the losing, the 500 and what they've become is what they are. Now they have to find out. You're going to have a team that's mentally tough enough to beat its way out of this thing. I'm not sure these guys can do it. I hope I'm wrong. Drew's in Boston. Go ahead, Drew.
Hey, Tony. So, I know the other day you talked about being an apologist, and you've been accused for an apologist of Cora for years. And, I got to ask you, when you defend them, when people say, oh, they can't field, you say, well, Cora doesn't teach the fielding. They're professionals. They should field. When they can't hit, well, Cora can't hit the fastball for them. When they can't pitch, Cora doesn't strike the guys out. When they quit on them and they look unprepared, well, that's not Cora either. So what does this guy do? Because ChatGPT can fill out a lineup card and it's free. This guy is a bum. The fish rots from the head down, and he's stunk for like 5 or 6 years now. It's terrible.
Okay, so again, I don't think he stinks, but you're right to look at him. I don't know if he's great. At one point, I thought he had the chance to be a great manager, but the team's play this year, there's nowhere to turn but the staff. And define staff however you want. Manager, pitching coach, hitting coach, analytics guys, nerds, whatever. Go to all of them. Whatever they're emphasizing isn't working. And don't tell me they don't have the talent to win. Because they have talent. They certainly have talent to be better than they are. Ron's in Texas. Go ahead, Ron.
Tony, I love you, but I disagree with that last comment. There is talent, but I don't think there's a lot of talent. I think you have Devers, who's a really good DH, and Bregman, who's kind of on the back nine of his career. And you hit the jackpot with Crochet. But other than that, do you have players that maybe overachieved last year? Or are we hyping Tristan Cassis for what he did 3 years ago for a 5-week span? It's the same team that's been a 500 team or worse. And this goes for Cora, too.
Ron, it's not the same team. It's not the same team. They added Crochet. They added Bregman. They added Walker Buehler. So it's not the same team. Now, again, I'm not telling you it's a world-beating team. Don't hang up. Bregman is a good player. He's not a superstar. He's not Mike Schmidt. He's a good player. Jaron Duran is a good player. Wilyer Abreu is a pretty good player. Christian Campbell has great potential. Casas is better than he's played. Please don't tell me you think that this is their level.
No, I think that what's happening right now is that you saw. I agree with you. Wilyer Abreu is a fantastic ball player, and I think Duran the best was what he had last year. I think that he can still compete, and I know we got the young guys coming up, but I just think that we it's like green teaming.
Yeah,
we're almost like Celtics fans and green teaming some of these players. That's what I feel.
Okay, I understand. And I will say that I think people got a little bit ahead of themselves. I said this at the time because they were so desperate for the Red Sox to be competitive again that they overrated the team. But the team was above average. Vegas had the win-loss over-under at 86.5. That's a B-plus team. Right now they're an F. They're not even close. Again, short show tonight. Bruins pregame next. Ryan Johnston, Bob Beer's regular season finale against the New Jersey Devils. You catch it right here on 98.5. We'll see you tomorrow.